I'm Llama Gucci from Ashijima's farm and you're watching Disney Channel. Hinata's pod. This is happening in real life. This is normal. There's nothing weird about it. Hinata stared at the mirror, tugging down on his shirt slightly, with shaky fingers. Even though it had been the 6th time he'd changed shirts, he wasn't convinced that it was good enough. That he looked good enough. It's just Tsukishima, right? But that was just it. He was going on a date with Tsukishima, the guy who would rather choke on his own foot than admit he liked someone, the guy who was constantly annoyed with just the presence of Hinata, the guy who wouldn't dare to let anyone break those imperious walls of his, not even his own best friend. At least that was what Hinata had thought until Tsukishima himself had essentially disproved every single one of those assumptions with his confession the other day. He'd even gone as far as to send him a good morning text and remind him of their date. Then why do I feel this way? Why can't I stop thinking about being ridiculed by him? Why am I trying so hard? Hinata took a deep breath and knitted his eyebrows together as he stared at the mirror one more time. This isn't enough. With a sigh, Hinata pulled his shirt over his head and sauntered back to his closet. He rummaged through the million clothes he had but for some reason, wasn't satisfied with that all. Maybe that red hoodie over there? Nah, too simple. How about that pink sweater? Too flashy. Maybe that yellow and green patterned blouse? Gross. Why do I even own that? This isn't getting me anywhere. He sweared under his breath, resisting the urge to mess up his already fluffed up hair. Calm down, Shoyo. It's just a date. Shoyo? He heard a voice call from behind his door and he almost felt relieved to see that his mother was back from shopping. See, come in, Mum. Are you ready? She aren't dressed yet? I can't seem to find the right outfit. Oh, I see. Let me help you. Hinata nodded his head and made way for his mother to get through. As his mother carefully looked through his clothes, he couldn't stop the nervousness that rushed through his blood. He picked up his phone from the nightstand. It was currently 6:28 in the evening and there were no new notifications from Tsukishima. With a sigh of relief, he decided to reread his previous messages with him from last night. 8:14 p.m. What should I wear tomorrow? Anything. I mean, anything fancy? Casual? A mix of both. Just wear what you usually wear. But I don't want to wear something out of place. Trust me, you'd still be the center of attention even if you came in pajamas. Or Stingishima. Yeah, you're messy. Bright hair will grab enough attention on its own. Mean. Just wear whatever you want. You'll be fine. Trust me. Okay. There was no hiding the smile on Hinata's face as he reread the last message. He switched off his phone and clutched it to his chest. Maybe things will be okay. He thought as he kept repeating the golden brown-eyed boy's words over and over again in his head. How about this one? His mother picked up the clothes and placed them smoothly on the edge of his bed. Laying beside the anxiety-ridden pile of clothes was a simple black blouse tainted with lightly scribbled white patterns, a pair of high-waisted rolled-up denim jeans, and a dark brown belt. The combo wasn't anything special but in Hinata's eyes, it screamed classic. Grabbing the clothes, he rushed to the bathroom and immediately tried them on. After pulling down his sleeves a bit, slightly tugging out his shirt, he stepped out of the bathroom and walked towards his mother with a nervous smile plastered on his face. So, what do you think? His mother's eyes widened in surprise and a grin found its way on her face. Shoyo, you look beautiful. That boy is going to be head over heels for you. Hearing that made him feel somewhat relieved and a tad bit excited, but it didn't stop the nagging fear rooted in his head. Did it really look good on him? Maybe he needed to fix his hair. Had he put on deodorant already? His phone buzzed, disrupting his thoughts and he took it out of his pocket once again. 6:55 p.m. I'm almost there. Oh god. Hinata shoved his phone back into his pocket and rummaged through his dresser, looking for anything that he might have missed. Are you sure? He asked his mother as he put some of the cologne that his grandfather had gifted him onto the crook of his neck, hoping the latter liked the smell of peaches. Hinata's mother must have noticed the everlasting restlessness in her son as she softly placed a hand on his shoulder with a calming smile on her face. Shoyo, what's wrong? Hinata tensed up as he glued his eyes on the floor. Nothing. Obviously, something's wrong if you're being this silent. Hinata almost let out a soft chuckle at that. It's nothing, really, just a little nervous. Well, you look stunning. And if the boy doesn't realize it, then it's his loss. Thanks, Mum. The doorbell rang, disrupting his thoughts once again, and he almost jumped. That must be him. I'll get it. Okay, I'll be in the kitchen. Have fun and don't think about it too much. You'll be fine, Shoyo. Hinata nodded and his mother left the room. With a deep breath, he combed through his hair faintly before looking at the mirror one last time. He liked the way his jeans accentuated his curves and how the belt seemed to have tied the whole look together. And in the back of his mind, he hoped that Tsukishima would like it too. The car ride was quiet. Way too quiet than Hinata had hoped for. In fact, the silence was killing him so much he had been contemplating over breaking the ice for the past 5 minutes. With shaky fingers, he turned on the radio, hoping that would ease the tension. As if things couldn't get any worse, the incongruous sound of WAP blasted through the speakers and Hinata instantly changed the channel like his life depended on it. He heaved a sigh of relief as he sat back. Shit, that almost gave me a heart attack. All of a sudden, he heard a soft chuckle coming from besides him and he jerked his head towards that sound. I still can't believe you thought WAP meant waffles and pancakes. Shut up. That's what Noya-san told me. How was I supposed to know? Hinata blushed furiously as he looked away from Tsukishima. Damn you, Noya-san. You know, you're pretty cute when you blush like that. What? His eyes widened. Did I hear him right? You heard me. So I wasn't just hearing things. Anyways, where are we going? Now why would I tell you that? Because I'm curious and I also have to make sure you aren't taking me into the middle of the woods to sacrifice me or something. I'd hardly call you a sacrifice. How mean. Even though Tsukishima was being mean to him, for some strange reason, Hinata felt at ease because of that. He was glad that Tsukishima was being himself. That, and he could see the small smile on his face. Besides, how would you know if I told you we're going somewhere but I took you to the woods anyway? Haha, so funny. Now tell me, where are we going? Hinata pouted at him, hoping it'd make him tell him the place. But unfortunately for him, it was of no avail. It's a secret. Before Hinata could say anything, Tsukishima turned his head to him slightly with a smirk on his face. Trust me, you'll love it. Oh god. I can't believe you. Actually I can. Hinata sighed as he looked up at Tsukishima, whose smirk hadn't wavered at all. They were standing in the halls of one of the largest museums in Japan with exhibitions that included murals of all of the greatest contemporary artists in Japan, sculptures from the early 1900s, and various Japanese paintings, in every nook and corner of the building. Although Hinata didn't like museums, he knew exactly why Tsukishima had brought him there. Surprised? Damn you, Tsukishima. You're welcome. Now come on, we haven't even gotten to the best place yet. Yeah, I know. Hinata said, apathetically, knowing exactly what Tsukishima was referring to. It said that Sue was the largest, and best preserved Tyrannosaurus ever found with 250 bones. Tsukishima said as he eyed the large form in front of them. To say that it looked terrifying would have been an understatement, but Hinata pretended to not mind it just to see the smile on the other's face. Let's go look at other fossils. Apparently she's aged about 65 million years. Isn't that so cool? Wow, Tsukishima, that's so cool. Hinata probably didn't mean it to sound sarcastic, but he couldn't help the boredom in his voice. I know you don't like stuff like this, but I've never really been to places like this with anyone before and I wanted you to be the first to go with me. If it's too boring, let me know and we can go anywhere you want. Hearing that made Hinata's eyes perk up and he couldn't hide the smile on his face. Coming from Tsukishima, it shouldn't have felt as good as it did. Even though this wasn't what he had on his mind for a first date, at that moment, he didn't care where he was as long as Tsukishima was there with him. No, I want to be here with you. Tsukishima snapped his head at Hinata's direction with a slight shock in his face. After realizing what he'd said, Hinata's eyes widened as well. I mean, I want to be here with you because the fossils are so cool and I wouldn't understand what's going on, so it's a good thing you're here to explain. Hinata rambled on, hoping he didn't weird him out with his strong statement. When he looked up to see the small smile on Tsukishima's face, He felt himself calm down a little and nervously smiled back at him. Well, that's good. You wait here, I'll go buy 2 tickets for this film set about titanosaurs. Okay. Hinata giggled. What's funny? Nothing, it's just cute how you're so into dinosaurs and stuff. Tsukishima's cheeks flushed a little and he brushed him off before leaving. Hinata took his phone out of his pocket and noticed a notification from Yamaguchi. 7:32 p.m. How is it going? It's going good. He's much sweeter than I expected. That's good. Yeah. I have an idea. Why don't you buy him a dinosaur shirt or something? I think he might like that. Oh my god, thank you, Yamaguchi. That's a great idea. I'll see if there's any shops nearby. No problem. Let me know if you need anything. I will, thank you. Hinata looked around and spotted a gift shop nearby. He noticed that the line for the tickets was a bit long, so he decided to head over to the shop. As he stood there, a gift bag in one hand and his phone in another, he couldn't stop the excitement and anticipation filling his body. He wondered how Tsukishima would react. Would he like it? Will he see that beautiful smile of his again? What if? Sorry for the wait, the line was long and I came as soon as I could. Tsukishima said, disrupting his thoughts yet again, with 2 tickets in his hand. That's okay. Tsukishima's eyes trailed down to the bag in Hinata's hand and he raised an eyebrow. What do you have there? I got you something. You got me something? Yeah. Hinata handed over the bag to him. What is it? Tsukishima asked as he curiously peered at the contents in the bag. Open it. As Hinata watched Tsukishima struggle to open the box, he chewed on his lip with trepidation. In Tsukishima's hands was a petite, orange T-Rex-shaped lamp that he was tracing with his fingers ever so gently. Even though there were a horde of people in the museum, at that moment, all Hinata could hear was the beat of his own heart rapidly increasing. Do you like it? I didn't know what to get you since I figured you might already own half the things in the shop and I love it. Hinata looked up at Tsukishima, who had a softest smile on his face that Hinata really wanted to kiss. I love it so much, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. This time it was Hinata who was grinning ear to ear. He looked at the boy in front of him, taking in every crevice of him. With a long-sleeved grey shirt infused with vacant tan stripes and a pair of light blue khakis that seemed to complement his slender figure, Tsukishima looked gorgeous. Come on, the show's starting soon. Tsukishima said, his smile never faltering, and Hinata nodded. Just as they were about to begin walking, Hinata felt a warm calloused hand slip under his and he stopped in tracks. What happened? Before he could get an answer, Tsukishima had realized what he had done and immediately pulled away. His eyes widened. Shit, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Hinata's cheeks flushed as he took the taller one's hand in his, taking him by surprise. Let's go. Hinata smiled at him and intertwined their fingers. And they walked together, holding hands for the first time, feeling like there was no one else but them in the moment. Tsukishima's pod. Shortly after watching the film about Titanosaurus and checking out other artifacts, Tsukishima decided that it was time to leave the museum. He wanted to make it the best night for the both of them that he'd been preparing since the crack of dawn. It wasn't his intention at all to bore Hinata to death with taking him to a museum, but he knew that he wanted to let Hinata in, and to do that, he needed to show him a piece of his world. As childish as it might have sounded, Tsukishima K was fascinated with dinosaurs, their lifestyle, appearance, the crazy myths about their existence, and how surreal it was to know that a whole species existed before humans. But even Tsukishima knew that a dinosaur museum wouldn't win his little tangerine's heart. That's why he had already planned in advance a picnic under the stars by a huge lake. Although there were people coming from different directions, he didn't care for any of them. All his attention was towards the beautiful, orange-haired ball of sunshine in front of him. I actually really like the film, Hinata said as he bit down a meat bun. You weren't even watching it. Not true. I watched the ending credits. I cannot believe you spent the whole time staring at me. Tsukishima scoffed as he averted his gaze back to the volleyball movie that had been playing on the screen of his computer. You caught that? You were looking at me like you hadn't eaten for 10 years. How could I have not? Of course he did. He could never not notice Hinata's big brown eyes, especially when they were staring at the very depths of his soul. I did no such thing. I just gave you a few glances here and there. Hinata whined, propping himself on his elbow and laid beside Tsukishima. If only he could hear Tsukishima's heart racing at the speed of light. God, does he not know what he does to me? Yeah, right. Besides, you were staring at me too. Not the whole time. Yeah, but you stared at me a few times. I did. Tsukishima paused the movie and looked at him. You so wait, you actually admitted to it. Hinata tilted his head slightly with furrowed eyebrows. Yeah. Wait, no, that takes away the fun. I wanted to fight with you. You wanted to fight with me? Tsukishima almost let out a laugh at that. Of course he did. Yeah. You're so weird. You should be the last person I hear that from. You've always started fights with me. Hinata huffed and threw a grape at him. Yeah, I guess I did. Why did you even pick fights with me if you like me? Because you're annoying. Tsukishima smirked, knowing that would rile him up. True to his expectation, Hinata punched his arm playfully. Oh, okay fine. It was because I just liked seeing your face being all riled up. It's cute. Tsukishima said as he rubbed his arm. For a shrimp, Hinata sure can pack a punch. A grin dangled on Hinata's face as he scooted a bit closer. Or you think I'm cute? He teased, giggling a little. To say that Tsukishima loved that laugh of his would be an understatement. It was serotonin for him. Don't push it. Okay, fine, I won't. Hinata threw his hands up in the air. When did you even realize that you like me? You ask a lot of questions, you know that right? Shut up and answer me. Taking a deep breath, Tsukishima shifted his focus to the checkered patterns of the blanket under them. Every time I looked at you, I always felt the need to do something. Anything for that matter. You could say that you either motivated me, or I envied you, but I guess somewhere along the way I started to realize that it wasn't just motivation or envy, it went beyond any of that. I started to believe in you, and in its own twisted way, I guess I trusted you, and that doesn't happen with me often. Then there was that feeling of needing to be there for you and protect you, even though I don't know what I would even protect you from. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Dart. Wow. Was all Hinata could manage to say as he stared at the other in awe. Tsukishima refused to look up from the ground. He felt way too embarrassed to even look at Hinata. Sorry, that was cheesy, wasn't it? No, it actually makes me happy for some reason. I don't know, I just never expected you, out of all people, to like me. Hearing that made him look up at him, with an indecipherable expression. While he agreed that he might have gone a bit overboard with the pretending, he wondered how Hinata didn't notice all those obvious hints that he'd thrown at him so deliberately. Yeah, me neither. But I'm happy that you do. Everything had been going according to plan. Picking on Hinata, annoying him, ignoring him, pretending not to be in love with his stupid hair and stupid smile, and drowning himself in songs that he'd always find himself relate back to that stupid tangerine. That is, until he found out others were going through the same thing he was, which he found solace in. If you don't mind me asking, did you want someone else to win? I won't be mad if you said yes. Tsukishima asked warily, ignoring the pang in his heart. Honestly, I didn't have anyone in mind since I was still processing what was happening, but if I'm being honest here, I was really excited for you to win. Oh? He was excited for me to win? Yeah, you were pretty hot when you were being all competitive over me. There was no hiding the blush in Tsukishima's cheek as he bit down on his cheek to prevent a smile from forming. Fuck. How can he just say things like that? Or you're blushing. Hinata laughed, and at this point Tsukishima was convinced that he looked like a tomato. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Hinata poked his cheek, but when he tried swatting his hand away, he accidentally brushed his fingers against Hinata's neck, which made Hinata squeal. They looked at each other with widened eyes. So, you're ticklish, huh? A smirk crept its way through his face, an evil glint in his eyes. No. Hinata said quickly, inching away from him. Yes, you are. Tsukishima scooted closer to him, the smirk on his face widening by the second. No, I mean. Hinata was cut off by a pair of large hands on either side of his neck, tickling him profusely. Tsukishi's, stop it. Hinata shouted in between laughing, and Tsukishima was laughing along with him, the air filled with the roaring laughter. Not until you admit that you're ticklish. Tsukishima tickled even more and moved his fingers to Hinata's ribs, which made him squirm. Never. Hinata yelled as he tried pushing him off of him, but it was of no avail. I wonder if you're just as ticklish in your feet. Fine, I'm ticklish. Now stop. Hinata shouted louder than he did a few moments ago, and Tsukishima pulled his hands away from his waist. When they both had finally caught their breaths, they gazed into each other's eyes for a few minutes, the smile on their faces slowly faltering. The proximity between them was little to none as their faces stayed extremely close. As Tsukishima's breath fanned across his face, Hinata's breath hitched, his heart beating furiously. Slowly, they averted their gazes to each other's lips. May I? Tsukishima whispered softly, bringing his hand to Hinata's flustered cheek. You don't even have to ask. Tsukishima pulled Hinata close and pressed his lips against his softly, draping his arms around his small frame. Hinata wrapped one of his hands around his neck and ran the other one through his hair as he kissed him back. Tsukishima's heart pounded in his chest as he could only focus on how soft he felt against his mouth. And he loved the way Hinata's fingers curled around his hair. They stayed like this for what felt like a lifetime before slowly pulling away from each other as their eyes fluttered open. Hinata looked at him half-lidded as he licked his lips, and Tsukishima stared at him, his senses absolutely invaded by Hinata's addictive touch. By the way, I don't know if I told you this already, but you look beautiful tonight. Shut up. Hinata muttered under breath, fighting that blush threatening to creep its way into his face. If only he knew what that beautiful blush of his did to Tsukishima.